One of the common things that we see portrayed in cinema is mental illness. It's a rather controversial subject, and one that we often don't think about when we watch a movie, because of how often it gets portrayed. Unfortunately, it has historically been portrayed with inaccurate stereotypes. Due to the spread of media, due to its influence, our image comes from what we see in these movies when it comes to mental illness. That creates problems. It creates stereotypes. It creates the stigma in society that affects those with mental illness today in their daily lives. This project will be going into detail about why this is such a big problem for society, and why this is a problem that is not going away. My thesis statement is, mental illness has been stereotyped in film ever since the turn of the 20th century, and the damage and stigma caused by these stereotypes and their inaccuracy is still a problem in society. So this project will be put into 3 parts. The first part will be covering 4 examples of movies that inaccurately portray mental illness. Part 2 will be stereotypes and myths in society about mental illness. And 3 will be why this is a problem for society and why this needs to change. And mental illness has been stereotyped in film for about as long as film's been out. You can go back to the Boris Karloff Frankenstein from 1931. Psycho is a famous example. I'll be going for some more modern examples for this project. Now, one of the more common stereotypes given to people with mental illness is like a psycho killer. So, slasher films come to mind. For the remake of Halloween from 2007, it covers Michael Myers and his backstory, whereas the original kind of just glanced over that, or showed the opening when he was a kid, but then just flash forward into when he was an adult and went on his killing spree. So how did he become a psycho killer? Well, it was a dysfunctional family that he lived in. There's a lot of things I could point to as far as the inaccuracies of what Michael Myers has as his mental illness. But I'll cover that once we get to part 2 of the project, because a lot of those kind of relates to this. The second example is one that came out last year, which is The Visit, which is where these 2 grandparents had their 2 grandchildren to stay at their house, and there's something that's obviously wrong with them. And their grandchildren realize this, and rather to believe that these parents have some kind of mental disorder. This film was just a very sad portrayal. The fact that it was so recent, and it has these kind of stereotypes, kind of adds to the problem, because as newer films come out that are more accurate, there's always another film that's inaccurate that come out and wipes it all away. The third example is Silver Linings Playbook. It involves a man with bipolar disorder who got released from a mental hospital, tries to reconcile with his family. In the process, he meets a woman named Tiffany, and upon meeting and spending time with her, finds a way to treat his bipolar disorder through love. And he comes to the conclusion that basically, love trumps bipolar disorder. I have a news flash for you. It's not how it works in real life. The film also spreads the message that proper treatment is not needed. And this can lead to multiple negative effects and consequences on society when it comes to mental health treatment. And a fourth example is Shutter Island from 2010, which is about a U.S. Marshal named Teddy who goes to investigate the disappearance of a murderer from an insane asylum, and in the process loses his sanity and develops some kind of mental illness. Now, what's wrong about this is that he loses his sanity just like that. And it's really unrealistic. Because he develops multiple symptoms of multiple mental disorders, including delusions in particular. So now let's talk about the myths and stereotypes that are in society about mental illness. There are 4 common ones. One is that they are violent. 2 is that they're unpredictable. 3 is that they do not get better. And 4 is that depression is caused by a chemical imbalance in the brain. Well, these are just blatantly wrong, because those with mental illness are more likely to be attacked than to be the ones attacking. Most of those with mental illness are ordinary individuals that won't randomly go berserk. Research shows that mental illness can be effectively treated, and improvement can be made. And some drugs don't automatically fix chemical imbalance, and some people will never find a drug that works for them. So now let's go into the third part of this project, the effects on society. A big factor in this problem is how much of an influence the media has. The media has become the biggest news outlet for information in the world. On a daily basis, the media influences how people act, think, and view society. And because it's so easy to access the media, stereotypes get spread so much easier. That's a problem, because that leads people to believe that this is the norm. and it's not.
In the case of schizophrenia especially, violent behavior is not something that is commonly witnessed, or experienced by those that have it. So the relationship between violence and mental illness, as seen in the film, is a heavily stereotyped one. And according to certain surveys, most people still believe that schizophrenia is a split personality disorder, and it's not.
Another factor is that these problems are not going away. In fact, they're getting worse in a lot of circumstances. While a lot of racist or homophobic kind of portrayals are kind of getting watered down by newer films, for mental illness, they're getting even more extreme. So, comedy is more cruel, and psycho killers are even more savage in their beatings and killings. And of course, the biggest factor is the stigma surrounding mental illness in society. There are many issues that this can cause. One of the biggest ones is lack of understanding with family members that are close to these people. They don't want to understand, or they just don't know because there's no accurate sources to look at. The second problem is self-doubt and loss of hope. When you have a label on you as mentally ill, you start to lose confidence in yourself, and you feel like the rug is pulled up from underneath you, and you lose productivity in life because you feel like you're being held down permanently by this label. A third issue is embarrassment amongst friends and at school for kids and teens with mental illness, because while some people can be very compassionate and understanding about the issues they have, some can be more cruel with their words and with their lack of understanding. So people can be embarrassed to tell people about what they have, and it only allows the problem to build up inside you. And the fourth problem is discrimination at work. Some employers will not want to hire anybody that has a mental illness, and if they do find out that you have one after hiring you, there's some kind of subtle consequences that could come from this. It does. Those examples being that they might underpay you and overwork you.
The stigma attached to mental illness is a horrible thing, and it can prevent them from getting the support and treatment that they desperately need in order to live happier lives.
So in conclusion, mental illness stereotypes and stigma are still very prominent today. With the rise of the media, these problems are only more likely to worsen, unless more accurate portrayals become more common, and people start to be more open about their understanding and knowledge of these serious disorders. Because there could be people in your lives that need help, but are willing to seek it, unless improved understanding and less harmful portrayals become the norm in society. If the effort is put into it, and anything can be put to stigma, mental illness can just be welcomed easily in society, and not have to be a curse. That is all.